Alright, just waiting for the live to start. Looks like we're live. Hi everybody, I'm Colleen Mitchell. I'm a life coach, a writer, a host of a podcast on type 1 diabetes, and I also have a full-time job working in the power industry. I like to say that I help people identify the problems that they're having, why they haven't solved them yet, and then how to solve them. Because sometimes all we need is someone to believe in us for us to start believing in ourselves. I know that happened for me. So today we are talking about manuals, or what happens when you attach your emotions to what you expect other people to do. Now, this is a concept that I learned from Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. I like giving her credit for everything because she basically came up with all of this anyway. So, do you ever tell someone what you want them to do and then get upset when they don't do it? Assuming your answer is yes, then congratulations. You have an operating manual or a rule book for another person. Now, I wouldn't feel too bad about this because we all do it. Everyone is wired to attach emotional significance to whether someone does or doesn't do something we want them to do. We think we know exactly how people should behave. We know what they should do. And when they don't do it, we get upset, even when those people don't know about these operating manuals we have for them in our heads. As humans, it's normal to want to control everything and everyone around us. If I could control what other people do, everything would be fine. We've actually been raised to believe that we do have control over how other people feel. Think back to school when you were growing up. Did you ever hear, "You hurt his feelings. Go apologize," or "You made me mad"? Congratulations again. You've been conditioned to believe that you're responsible for what others feel. And I grew up like this too. The truth is that you don't have that control, and everybody is responsible for their own feelings, even you. So many people now are coming to realize that the only true control we have is over ourselves. How we react or act to things, how we think, how we feel, and the decisions we make. It's uncomfortable to accept this reality, but we have to accept it. We need to learn how to allow other people to be themselves. So this is what we normally do. We say stuff like, "I let him do that," or "I'll let you off the hook for now." "She's letting me try this out for a week." "He can't do that because I said so." "You're not allowed to be angry about this because of," and then insert your reason. That last one especially tricks us so much. Because here's the deal. Everyone, including you, gets to feel, think, and act however they want. Some people allow other people to dictate their lives, but that's still a decision that they've made, whether it's unconscious or not. And this is happening a lot right now in the United States with the whole face mask fiasco. Thousands of people are letting the government dictate what they do and what they wear, and thousands of others are not. We don't allow or let others do the things that they're already going to do. We just allow ourselves, or not, to deal with how uncomfortable it is to experience our own feelings about it. When you think or say something like "you shouldn't do that" or "you can't do that," it takes your power away. I mean, essentially, you're putting your emotions into someone else's hands to dictate how you feel, and that never ends well. When you let other people do what they want to do, when they want to do it, even if it goes against your operating manual for them, you release any attachment to the outcome. Is your spouse upset about something? Nothing has gone wrong. They get to be upset. The moment you make it mean something negative about you, you've lost all your power to begin trying to make it better. Does your neighbor support a political candidate that you don't like? Nothing has gone wrong. They're allowed to have a contrary opinion to yours, as much as we don't really like that. As soon as you allow that difference of opinion to affect you emotionally, anger or outrage, for example, those seem to be the most common right now, you are the one who's lost. You've given your power away to someone who both can't control your feelings and doesn't know you expect him to. We also do this to ourselves. We have operating manuals for how we think we should act. We expect ourselves to do things that we genuinely want to do, but then when we don't do those things, we get upset at ourselves. It's never useful. And this actually happens a lot and all the time for me. Like any of the self-coaching work that I do, it's a long process, and I need constant reminders to just nudge myself back into neutral. I mean, maybe I'll schedule something on the calendar and then not do it, or I'll push it off to read on my Kindle or read fan fiction or something. I've identified the buffers that I have. When I'm inside the manual I have for myself, I think things like, I shouldn't have skipped that. I should have paid more attention to the time. I get too distracted. I need to fix that. I'm just not good at keeping my calendar. And all of these are thoughts that indicate an emotional attachment to whether or not I'd completed the work that I had on the calendar. The way that you know you've got a manual for yourself is when you find yourself using the words should, shouldn't, need to, and other things like that. They trigger negative emotions and self-judgment, and that's not useful to anyone. So what should we do instead? It's a lot easier said than done to allow other people to be themselves, or even to let ourselves release our self-imposed manuals. It feels unnatural. When we try to control others, we're really trying to wrest their decisions away from them. Think about it. How do you feel when others try to control you? When others try to wrest those decisions away from you and make those decisions for you? Now, I don't know about you, but I get pretty ticked off when other people try to control me. I don't like it. So why should other people like it when you do the same thing? Or when I do the same thing? They don't. So here's a few tips for allowing other people to be themselves, even when you really don't want them to. And these also apply to the self-imposed manuals. So first off, ask yourself, would I want someone to behave this way towards me? Think of the golden rule. Do as to others as you would have them do unto you. Next, do a thought download or a brain dump onto a piece of paper. Just get all of the thoughts out of your head and onto the page. Then you want to pick out all the thoughts that include a should, a shouldn't, or even an I don't like it when this person does this behavior, and all the other thoughts that indicate your attachment to how others or yourself behave. Next, identify how those thoughts make you feel. You might have to work a little bit at this. You might end up feeling only that it's a negative emotion, but the longer you kind of pick at it, you might end up getting an actual emotion with a word on it, like frustrated or angry, disappointed, something that's specific other than just negative or bad. And then ask yourself, when you feel like that, what do you do? Be very specific. What actions do you take? Then, once you've got all those written down, ask yourself, when you do those things, what do you create or end up with in your life? Identify whether those thoughts you're thinking serve you or not. And if they don't serve you, question why you're attached to them at all. Every time you feel resistance to someone else's behavior or your own, get curious about it. Write it down. Just ask yourself why. Now, before I close this out, I have a few thoughts that I want to share, besides all the other thoughts that I just shared. The first one is that the only person you can control is yourself, even if it doesn't feel true. It doesn't need to feel true in order to be true. If you've ever tried to control someone else and it didn't work, then that's proof right there. Next, when you and I get upset about someone's behavior, you and I are the ones who suffer. Emotions don't just jump out of my body and into someone else's. We're the ones who feel our own anger. Others don't feel our anger. This goes back to the example about people with political differences. If you're upset that someone disagrees with you, they don't feel that upset. You do. And lastly, releasing your manuals doesn't mean giving up expectations and boundaries. It just means that you don't make your emotions dependent on what someone else does or doesn't do. You can set expectations and boundaries. This is really healthy, and I highly recommend doing both. But as soon as you make their compliance or non-compliance responsible for your happiness or your sadness, then you've given your power away. Allowing others to be themselves could be one of the hardest things that you learn how to do, but when you get the hang of it, you'll release so much emotional suffering in your life. If people get to do what they want, including you, then it doesn't mean anything about you, and it doesn't affect how you feel about things. So if you're interested in unpacking the manuals that you have for yourself and other people, I want to invite you to book a consultation call with me. We'll talk about the problems that manuals are creating in your life and what it would be like to release them. And even if we don't end up working together, you'll come away knowing exactly how to identify when you're slipping into a manual for yourself or someone else. The direct scheduling link is in the description, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.